Okay. Send the link. All right. How you doing, guys? Hope everyone's Thanksgiving was good, full of food, relaxing, family, all that good stuff. I have a little bit of time here before supper here. We finished up a chicken. My in-laws are over, and we were going to spend some time here. My wife's going to go read her book, and we got Kenny here. Hey, Kenny, how are you?
Hey, I meant to ask you, you've got that deep potting station and all that stuff.
Yeah,
How would you like to see if you could figure out what Snapper uses for their mystery box?
mystery box.
Well,
Oh,
it's the safety relays or whatever the
oh
hell they
yeah,
are.
yeah.
You can't buy them. Nobody sells them, and everybody I know with a rear engine rider doesn't want to
Hmm.
spend the $55 on one. It'd be a great opportunity if you could make these things. You could sell them for $30 all day.
Well,
I'm
I certainly
serious. There's
would.
probably a market of like 1,000 or two out there.
If I can get the, if
I'll
I can,
mail one. I'll mail one to you. I got the one
yeah,
from mine.
that or meet you halfway. You and
Yeah,
I are
either
on
way.
the,
I know you got the deep potting heat
yeah.
guns and
It's
stuff. Yeah.
it's a hot air
It's not big
rework
either.
station.
It's tiny, so it's got to be something stupid.
Could just be something. Yeah, could be something very simple. What does it do?
Every everyone I know, all it does is it disables the ignition if you don't have it like in neutral and stuff like that. But the problem
Oh,
is, everybody I know that has washed their Snapper rear engine rider, when water gets on this unit, gone,
yeah,
just gone. And
very
it's a
cool.
sealed, it's like a Packard type plug. It's like a seal type plug, but for
Huh?
some reason, when water hits it,
Yeah.
game over.
Wow.
So something shorted, and it's probably something stupid, but I'll be honest with you. That and the $200 simplicity module for the safeties, it's
Yeah.
$200. And I'm
Ooh.
sure it's something
Wow.
simple. Yeah.
That's
Yep.
ridiculous.
Yeah. And
Should
most
not.
people just jerry rig them, and I'm like, I'd rather have the safeties on it per se. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't care. Mine's a pull start. I just ground it. I don't care. But it'd be
Sure.
nice to have it so the key works and all that.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to look at that. I mean, it's just like the control boards that I've rebuilt,
Yeah.
they still cost over $200, but if you look at the Mauser cart, it's maybe about 13, $14 plus shipping
Cool.
worth of parts on there.
Mhm.
It's crazy.
Who's this JLC Jim's talking about?
Uh JLC
Is that another
PCB.
guy that does the
I've
same thing?
never heard of them. I would think there's a lot of companies out there that, to my understanding, that if you design a board and there's software that you can use to design a PCB or a circuit board and
Mhm.
to mass produce it, you can have them create the circuit boards with all the traces on it,
Oh,
and
okay.
then e-
All right.
and then even if like they do it a lot in the guitar pedal world, like if you wanted to build your own guitar pedal, you can go to stumac.com if you want to build a distortion or a chorus or something
So
like that.
you don't have to acid etch your own boards and all that. They'll do it for you.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. And they
I
usually
got
make them where you just, drop the parts in and then you solder each,
you. Yeah.
lug one at a time.
That'd be cool.
Nowadays, a lot of those boards are surface mount, but there's still a lot of do-it-yourself kits. I think
Sure.
that's what he's talking about. Hey, it's as long as there's not any copyright issues, I'd be more than happy to do that.
Yeah. I'll be honest. This module's been out there probably 35 years.
Yeah,
So I'm sure any patents are done. You know,
yeah, I would
Yeah.
think, but no, certainly,
Patents used to be 17 years. Now I think they're 10 or 15. So
yeah, it's very short now. I
yeah.
mean, in the greater scheme of things, but yeah,
Hmm.
be more than happy to check it out. Yeah, I mean, I know doing, I I've done a lot of surgery on circuit boards lately, so it's something that I just do as a power hobby.
Hey, did
um,
you and Jim ever decide what the hell happened with that thing where it
it
smoked
was a
those people?
hot spot. It's what's
Really?
called a flying short. So a flying
Okay.
short means that there's a short to of one of the windings to ground, but it only presents itself when the rotor is spinning.
In the stator though,
In
or
the stator, in the
oh, okay.
stator.
All right.
So, what a lot of people were and I took one of the other things I wanted to kind of get off because a lot of people said, "Oh, the board was looked pretty beat up, and the board was got a bunch of carbon trace and
Yeah.
whatnot." I
Yeah.
was going to send him this board, and it's pretty much undamaged at all. It had a little tiny bit of trace, but there's no carbon bill. I says, I could send you this one, and if the other one blows, you got a nice new one to use. But
Yeah.
he found he found the hot spot, and then a lot of people on the second part of the video, and we really couldn't say anything because the first part got a lot of views. I was very
Yeah.
impressed, but the they were like, "Oh no, it was the board. The board wasn't, repaired correctly." And I said, "No, I went through it. Here's
You
the."
tested it. I saw you
I
tested
tested
it.
it. I have the same exact rotor here.
Yeah.
Because when I got my generator years ago, I wound up buying a brand new rotor and stator combo, not realizing that the rotor was still good. Typically,
Yeah.
the stator is the what fails, but
Mhm.
I had to wait till part 2 to come out, because part 2 you can see it like 22 minutes in, you could see the hot spot on the inside and also the
Mhm.
outside. Now we did sand an area to see if you can test the parts to the windings to ground, but he was
Mhm.
getting an intermittent connection, which tells me, yeah, the vibration was causing that short. That's what would cause it to, you know, James is in the chat here. Yeah, James. Yeah, he knew that if you put a brand new board in, it was going to blow. So
Mm.
that's just what happens. You can't be leaving generators outside. In a couple weeks, actually, this coming week, I am going to have one of those inflatable companies. They actually rent out a bunch of generators. They have 10 generators on their, I forget their inflate, like like the bounce houses,
Mm.
the
Yeah. Yep.
they have all, and then some of they have other inflatables like for the kids, for like kids parties. Well, they're all over Connecticut, and the guy reached out to me and he's like, yeah, we rent generators. We have 10 of them, but at any given day, there's like 6 of them being used, and we're looking to see if we can have them serviced. But they're seeing a lot of hours. We want to know, is it worth spending the 750, 850 for an 8,000 water? Do we
Sure.
just get a new one every couple of years, or do we have it maintained properly, and we just bring them to you? And I'm like, hey, I'll give it a try. But so he's going to be dropping off 2 next week, but then I'm pretty much closing up for the holidays, because it's taken a long time to get parts. I don't know what it's been like for you, but I can do the aftermarket stuff on Amazon, but those are hit and miss, especially some of the belt sizes.
Well, it's weird. I found it both ways. I found it where, yeah, it may take weeks and weeks to get something, but then now something to tell me it's going to be 3 weeks. I get it in 3 days.
Yeah.
It's
Well, a
it's
lot of the place that I used to order, and I still order from them, they've always been very good to me. The problem is that for them, they wait till they get a big bulk order, and then
all
once
right.
they have enough to ship to put the order, and then they go and put the part in.
I
So it's
got
going
you.
to take
Yeah.
a full 2 weeks or more, and it doesn't always work for my time frame, because I mean I don't want to have to store the machines for that long either.
Exactly.
Because
I
then I
just got
can't really charge it back.
a company called Equipatron. I've used them for years, and it's called Equipatron, one word, and they stock a lot of Briggs stuff and Kohler stuff and all that.
Hmm.
Well, my dealer, it was a cable for an old Noma snow thrower, and the
Yeah.
snow thrower actually has dual sets of cables with a bell crank in between that connects them.
Yeah.
And there was this little teeny cable on the bottom. I didn't realize how long it was. Literally, it's 4 inches long. It's got a Z bend on one, and it's got an
Hmm.
eyelet on the other end, but it's only 4 inches. Plastic coated cable. Well, the part's no longer available. I went to my dealer a week and a half ago. Nope, no longer available. So I see it on Amazon, and it says
Yep.
Equipatron. And I go, wait a minute, Equipatron? As I've
Hmm.
used them before. So I
Yep.
called the guy up just for the hell of it. I says, do you actually have this? He goes, yep. I said, all right. So I got it. It was about almost a week, but still, it was no longer available. Dealer can't get it. And
Yeah.
his thrower is a 33-inch thrower, 12 horse. I mean, it's a good
Big
sized
one.
thrower.
Yeah. It's a
And
big.
it's mint condition. He kept it mint, but it's just like overkill on these cables. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And if I knew, the problem is it broke right at that eyelet piece, like right there where it's like
Yeah.
cast. So
I
I
know what you're
couldn't attach it or crimp it or do anything.
Wow.
So, but hey, Equipatron, if you ever need anything like that, Briggs, Kohler, any of the name brands, they stock a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and it's just like it's always trying to get that rapid deployment out, right? Like I have Parts Tree, I have Pro Parts Direct, I have the resale, or my resale with here in the state, to be able to get these parts if I need them. But
Mm,
Parts Tree is down in Texas. I forget where Pro Parts is. I think they're Midwest. So you're looking
mm.
at least 3 days anyway. Any local dealer around here, they're not always gonna. They may most likely have belts and
Yeah.
maybe the bearings and whatnot. But if they don't have the exact part number, if you look at
Mhm.
the bearing number, you could probably find that over at like Napa or some other
Oh,
hardware.
I use
For
BEI,
great.
Bearing Distributors, up the street
Yeah,
from where I work. So, yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
Cool.
Hey, Kyle, what's going on? He's my old drummer.
Oh,
How you
what did you
doing,
say?
bud?
There was a guy that wanted to come out and talk about circuit boards or
Yeah, his
something?
name is Wally. So he gave me his phone number, and I message him. It's been a busy weekend, but he has the same board set, and I figured I'd jump on for a little bit now before supper starts in probably about
Mhm.
another hour or so. And if you wanted to jump on, I can see if I can help him out with the boards. But if not, I could always reschedule during the week. But
Hmm.
he was asking about it. But no, hey Kyle, how you doing, bud? I haven't seen you in a long time. I think Kyle lives up in Massachusetts, so with his wife. So we've kind of been out of touch for a little bit, but we used to be in a cover band doing top 40s and whatnot. We'd play 60 on 55, 60 songs every gig, so it was a pretty long gig. But trying to learn new material, that's always the tough part.
Mm.
It's it,
Yeah, you can't exactly have a big music stand in front of you when you're doing a cover band, right?
well, I mean, there's people that do, and hey,
Oh,
that's
really?
power to you. But a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
of times if you're, you know, I don't know. I guess it's been a while since I played
Are you,
out.
are you
I've
one
been,
of those play by ear guys?
yeah, I can, my ear, I can actually tell. Okay, that's an A, or it's a little flat, or something like that. Yeah, there's a lot of people that do need the tuners in order to make sure they're in key. But I've been able to play by ear for the most part. But there's a lot of things now, and I can't even imagine nowadays with without having YouTube, how would you'd have to keep playing the same part over and over again until you finally
Oh, yeah.
got the play part right. So
I love the breakout videos where they do every single instrument individually. That's unbelievable.
yeah, well, one of trying to listen to it. You're a big fan of Yes, right? So it's
Oh, yeah.
trying to listen to some of their material. You need a breakdown of
Oh,
some of
yeah.
their very intricate parts, and that's one of the bases I want to have someday is a 4003 Rickenbacker. A little pricey, but
Even
sometimes.
even just to hang on the wall though, it's a pretty guitar.
Well, yeah, I mean, I now
Mm,
have some guitars hanging up back here and up and around here.
yeah.
I'm up
My
to.
s my new son-in-law is like that. He's got a music room because he does, like, video production, that's his job,
Oh,
and
okay,
his room is like a music room. He's got guitars, but he
yeah,
plays 2 or 3 different instruments, yeah.
yeah. Hey, there's Wally. Hey, that's the guy. How you doing,
Oh,
bud? Hey,
there you
there's
go.
a link in the beginning of the chat if you want to jump on here. I don't know if you had some time, but if not, we can always reschedule for later this week if you like. But yeah, feel free to join the chat. Yeah, no, yeah, it's been interesting. It's with the way these boards are. So, but
Look at James, he's a glutton for punishment. There he goes.
what's he got here? Okay, he's got a governor and voltage issues. All right, yeah. There's an EXL not that far from me too. It was either the 3500 or the 4000, and they wanted like $350 for it, and I'm like, it's hard to justify right now. I would think that that's a good price, but
Yeah, if
generators,
you need one, yeah.
yeah, generators up here in the Northeast anyway, they're dropping like a stone.
Yeah.
If you're down in Florida, for example, then they're pretty much gold down there.
We need a good hurricane or a snowstorm. That usually gets them going.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think a lot of the contractors, general contractor guys, they're hoping for a busy snow season because if they're not working on their contractor stuff, they're going to be usually plowing driveways. If we don't have a lot of snow, they're going to be kind of
Hey, I
scraping.
wouldn't mind this 50 some odd degree weather. I love it. Yeah.
Oh, I'll take it. It's funny. Sue and I, we were talking and the earlier today. I was like, it's crazy. A couple years ago we were getting whacked with so many snowstorms, and nowadays it's like you don't get a lot of snow. It's cold. It's just
Yeah.
bitter cold, and then you'll get a little bit of a warm up. Like a thaw, like sometime in January to beginning of February. But yeah, Wally, and I'll put the link back in here. Feel free to jump on the stream here. If you wanted to, I can answer some of your questions on the board. What's going on? He mentioned that he wasn't getting voltage for. He's got the same board set of what James was working on, and he said that he wasn't getting any voltage. I says, well, can you test to see if the stator and rotor in house? And that's what I put in the videos too. Is like for the cost of the repair of these boards, just like what happened with James, he finds this generator, it's unknown condition. You got to see, is it worth fixing, the
But
machine up?
that was a gift.
That was a gift, I
That was
found
a
out.
gift.
Yeah.
And I said to James, I hope you don't get any more gifts like that. Yeah.
Well, it was pretty rough. I mean,
Oh,
when
yeah.
you leave an electrical piece of equipment outside, you're just begging for it to fail, but Yeah, it's tough. The generator that I have was a construction site generator, and it was, left outside for a time, and they overloaded it, and I wound up having to replace the stator. And I got the stator and rotor as a kit, but I should have just changed the stator because that's all that was bad. But that's why I have that spare stator, or the spare rotor. But oh, no mic or camera. Okay, no worries, no worries. Cool. Well, if you want to chat it up or do what you need over, you can always reschedule some time later this week. This is usually my preferred way of.
Yeah, but he could do it with a phone too. If
you could do it with a phone too. Yeah, you can.
don't
If
need
you're
a
on your phone, you can do it here.
I do my lives from my phone when I'm
Yep.
out. So yeah, you don't need a PC or a laptop or.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a little overly techy here with having a nice microphone, and the camera is just built into the Mac. So,
Yeah.
It was a relief that it was bad. Yeah, it would have been a lot of work. Yeah, I mean, it looked pretty rough. Although a lot of people were making the comments on it had this big headlight on the control panel, and I think that was just there so you can actually see, what you're doing when it's dark out. I've had a guy a couple years ago. He's actually a local policeman, and he lost power on the other side of town, and the battery was dead, so he went and got another battery. The power went out. He's like, oh crap, I didn't put the new battery in. So he's trying to hook it up in the dark with the flashlight, and he crossed the wires. He connected the negative, positive to negative, blew out every single control board in his Champion generator.
Oof.
And he asked me to fix it. And thankfully, between Champion and Furman, so Champion's in California, I think Southern California, and then Furman's located in like Phoenix, Arizona area. You can get a hold of an engineer quite easily, if not by a phone. Then you can get them by email. They're usually I've had very good experience with getting technical support from them as far as, okay, well, this is why it's not working, or we can send you all these boards. And their boards are very reasonably priced for the cost that they charge for some of their control boards, like the control board that has the remote fob where you can remote start it and remote stop it. That board was only $45-50. I mean, it's not
the
like
guy with the Furman that I have. He called me up like 3 weeks ago. Oh, we're gonna stop by and I'll give you what I owe you. He said, "Yeah, keep the generator or get rid of it." Yeah, and then he said, "I'll pay," because I got $100 into it and everything. And I said, "Okay," and I'm still waiting for it.
Huh? Wow. Okay. Well,
and it runs, like I said, runs on just the gas. So I'll sell it as a gas generator. I don't care.
Well, like I said, if you're ever feeling ambitious, what the engineer had told me from Furman is that they had a bad batch of regulators that on the propane hose that it comes with, the one that at the tank, not the demand regulator that's on the machine.
Gary, if you want to play with it, I'll drop it off. I mean,
I'll play with it.
It's not worth anything to me. I mean, it's like I have a Generac. I don't need it or anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have a Generac too. I still got 3. I got that nice that Kipper inverter generator. It's 3,000 watts.
It just seemed like overkill to me with all the switches and boards and.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I'm
for
seeing
the dual fuel anyway. For the dual fuel.
I'm seeing a lot more. I'm seeing a lot more of those Champions coming in for service because they've been out in the market for a little while now. But these dual fuel ones, people they're not familiar with how to run them, and some of them now come with the carbon monoxide sensors.
Well, the newer ones, every manual I could download talked about that. He thought that's what the problem was, and his is older. It doesn't have that.
Yeah, and he's lucky because there are so many people. I've had a couple emails asking, well, how do you bypass that sensor? Because what a lot of people are doing now is they're taking these machines and they're putting them on the back of an RV or somewhere,
well, in the garage,
near the garage or whatever. And obviously it's doing its job. It's shutting it down, but they're overly sensitive. Like,
well, you were saying, what is it? A minute or two, and then it'll cut it off or something.
Cut it off. Exactly. And, when and for us guys that are trying to repair these things, you need to be able to bypass it to take it out of the equation in terms of, is that the only thing that's causing the machine not to run? And I actually someone had asked, because I had on the Champion generator YouTube video, I said, hey, this is great. Thank you for showing us how to change out the sensor. But, it would be nice to know how to troubleshoot and test it and remove it from the circuit. We can't do that. That'll void the warranty. Okay, perfect. I understand that. No, don't want to do that if it's under warranty. But how do you know it's bad? they're overly sensitive. They're shutting down the machines more times often than not. And it could just be it's a bad sensor. It's overly sensitive. It's like having a bad smoke detector or a bad carbon monoxide detector in your house. It's, false tripping. But I mean, it's not. When I looked at all the schematics, Champion and Furman do provide all the schematics. If you know how to read the schematic, you know which wires goes to. Snip the one wire so it doesn't go to the ignition coils. But then my comment got deleted and everything. I'm like, I probably shouldn't have said to this other random person online to say, hey, this is how you disconnect it. But, oh, the light worked. That's awesome. James,
I was trying to get caught up, and now all of a sudden I get a million phone calls for snow machines now. It's crazy.
Oh, we were walking the dogs the other day, and we had a guy in this unmarked van, and my wife and I were, and my father-in-law, and now we have 3 German Shepherds, so you don't want to be messing with us with our Shepherds. They're extremely protective of my wife. So walking up there, and he's parked in front of our house, and we say on our Google, we say it's by appointment only. We don't want, because the town said we don't want you having increased traffic in your neighborhood. I said no, that's not what we want. We call they make an appointment with us, and we either go pick up, or if they want to drop it off, fine. But it had a New York license plate. It was just, the guy didn't speak very good English, so we said, we're not taking any new machines until the new year. We can schedule you in. But he had a walk behind blower, and the guy was, I think he was a little miffed that I told him that I'm not going to look at it. So it is what it is. I mean, I've gotten that snowblower that I was working on. We were working on a Toro, old Tecumseh flathead. It took a little while for it to actually finally smooth out, but I know they're very good engines. They can have hundreds of hours on them before you have to do the valve job. But I just don't like the way they're constructed with the plastic chutes and the bezels and everything. It's just, they're so cheaply made. For the rest of the machines, all heavy duty built, can last decades if you take care of it. And then the one of the main parts that is under the most stress with ice and snow flying out of it is plastic. It's just, I don't understand it. You had that nice. That's the dealer that has the anniversary one, the 90th anniversary.
Yeah, they allowed at least one per dealer, so he got one in. It really is cute. I mean, it's nice looking. It's a regular 24. It's a nice throw.
Yeah, it looks really nice. I mean, there's a guy over, I want to say Middletown. No, not Middletown. In Middlebury, and it's like north of me here and way north of you. He had one of those old from the 1970s, and it's immaculate. I couldn't believe how nice it was set up there.
But I've had people bring them to me where I've taken the points out and put in a little, jumper with the
still had points on it. I'm like, hey, this is impressive.
Oh yeah, yep.
Hey, we got Wally.
It's always points.
It's always points, yeah. And they have conversion kits too. Hey, Wally's he got his headphones on. Let me get him on here. Wally, you're on.
Hey, you just had to remind me about. You had to remind me about the phone deal. Hey, can
you hear us okay?
Yep, I hear you fine.
Cool. Yeah, so I figured, this is an open chat, any Q&A, just saying hi. We've been, sorry I couldn't get back to you a little before, it's been busy, Thanksgiving and whatnot, and decorating for Christmas. This is like the acceptable weekend for the family to start decorating the house.
Trust me when I say there, I made it a little bit better. But yeah, I know about the holiday issues, but what I wanted to ask is, other than the fact I have almost the same generator you do.
Okay.
Now I've come across trying to test everything out. I guess one of the boards, which is the power regulator, I want to say.
This one.
That all tested out fine.
When you did all the measurements here, okay?
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out how to put this thing in full screen on my phone. Sorry.
I can make you.
I couldn't see that.
Oh, hold on. Oh,
Yeah, that
light.
you got it. Yeah, that
That
board right
power
there.
regulator board. Yep. Yep.
My board is different though. If you saw the picture, my board is different. A little.
Okay.
The black wire is way down by the white wire.
Yeah, it's probably an earlier revision, but the parts are still pretty much the same, and they have changed the silicon controlled rectifier here on the heatsink. It's a slightly different part number, but
Yep.
I did see the pictures there. So you did all the measurements, and you're still not getting any power.
Exactly. And you mentioned an idea about testing on the AC side where it goes in from the I keep forgetting what it is. I'm not perfect with the terminology. Sure. I play with motors all the time, so
yeah.
But you mentioned the polarity of that. It is very crucial. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm wondering, and now I've got a schematic. That's how bad it went. I have the actual A schematic. That's similarity to it.
Right. Okay. All right, so let's get you here.
It doesn't tell me color wires.
Yeah, some of them are colored, some of them
Hey, that works too.
Hold on, let me let's see if I can change the
picture
layout.
Mine
here.
I think was it had a blue and red. No, wait a minute.
Wally, if you put your phone at 90 degrees, you'll be
I forgot exactly what color it was.
Rotate your screen, bud.
Well, that works too.
Degrees. Yeah, you'll be full screen.
Unless he's got
wait a minute.
Unless you got portrait lock. There you go.
Oh, there you go. Yep. You got it locked. We could see you now. No,
is it?
You had it good. Yep, there you go.
I'm sideways. Okay. There you are.
Yeah, there's a little bit
I don't
of
like looking at myself though.
It's okay. Did you want to show us something? Or?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was the schematics that I had.
Okay. Yep.
And I'm sure it's backwards.
No, it's okay. We can.
And
even if you
I
gave
found
us the
this
model number, we can look at it.
Well, that was the problem. I sent you the actual plate on it. That's on the motor housing, the fan motor.
Yep.
You can't find anything. And
let's see here.
I'm not used to having the whole thing.
Watching, he did send me some photos here. I'll see if I can share that up here. I don't know if it's easily to do here.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just pulling up your email now with the picture so I can actually see what's going on. All right.
Okay.
All right. So you have a model 52401.
Yeah, I've been playing. I've been playing with motors and all kinds. This is like my 5th generator I've worked on.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm. I'm just on the other side screen here to see if we can find out what's going on. It's a power. Wait, is it Power Mate here? No.
It's not a Power Mate. It's a Troy-Bill.
Oh, it's a Troy-Bill. Okay.
But it has a Generac clone, I believe.
Yeah, it looks like a GN series engine.
I think that's what it was too. I remember seeing something about that.
Like, yeah, 5, 2,
not
4,
on this paper
1.
though.
Yeah, I mean it won't say. All right, engine, handle, wheel. All right, here's the wiring diagram. I got you. All right, so
yeah, that's the wiring diagram I was following.
All right, let me do this. I'm going to present my share screen. Yeah. Ding.
And by the way, I just got done finding your live stream that you did. I want to say 5 months ago or 8 months ago. You guys are all hilarious.
We try to be anyway. Kenny actually is the one who kind of got me going on the lives here, and he does.
If you ever watch us on Saturday, Top Conquer stream, Mick Moses' old stream, we have a blast.
Yeah, I don't know if can you guys see my screen? What I'm scrolling through here?
Well, I'm starting to.
You still got. Hold on a second. You still got Wally on full screen.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let's see.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there it is. Okay. You could just see my screen, right?
Not yet. You gotta share screen.
I did share screen. Hold on.
Did you?
Yep.
Oh, go to
All
system.
three of you.
Yeah, but you presenting?
Yeah, but it's my system preferences. Unlock.
You gotta zoom yourself first and then present, I think.
Gotcha. If it's already checked, uncheck it. Oh, Google Chrome. So I have to unlock the screen by selecting the lock at the bottom. It must be different for a Mac. Give me 1 sec, guys. I want to be able to show everyone what we're talking about. We can try to troubleshoot this here. It's probably under security here.
Yeah, I got it from a friend of mine anyways.
Yeah. Okay.
And he's been wanting to give it to me over 2 years ago. And he says it worked. And then all of a sudden it didn't work. It was actually it had a problem with the automatic throttling, idling.
Okay. Yep. And what was
when he had gotten it, that's what he said. He was complaining that his sister was complaining about. So
what was it doing exactly?
When I looked, it would put out power, it would work. It's just that it was on a high idle all the time. It wouldn't knock down. It wouldn't automatically low idle when you're
okay.
On.
Is that a separate solenoid gear?
It is, and what it's designed to do is to bring when there's no load on the engine, it will bring the idle down to like 47 to 50 hertz, slower, like 20.
Does it energize or de-energize it to do that?
It energizes it. It pulls the governor arm back. Sorry, guys, I'm having a little tech difficulties to try and get the screen to share. It says, oh, Chrome has lost permission to capture your screen. To fix it, go to System Preferences.
You can't just hit where it says Present on the bottom?
I could select Present. I want to share screen.
It should have the option for share.
Yeah, it says Share Screen. And then it's just... but no, it's saying I have to go to my System Preferences.
That's weird. What are you trying to show them?
I'm trying to show the schematic because that's what's probably going to help here. But let's see here. And
you want to email it to me?
Yeah, let me send the link. Actually, that's probably a little bit easier so people can see it. I'll have to mess around with that. I usually don't share the screen that often. Here it is in the chat. That's the schematic I'm working on. So that's for everyone that's watching. That's what we're trying to do.
Ooh, that's a hand-drawn thing.
Yeah, it's an old one. Mine.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a little tough to see, but
yeah, I'm looking at it now. Wow.
Yeah. So if I'm looking off to the side here, it does have the power regulator board. It does have a battery charge. So you have an onboard battery, Wally?
No, I don't even have a starter on it.
Yeah, so then that's.
I think that rectifier that's in there is not good. As you've seen the picture.
Okay, I see it here. That rectifier is for there's a DC
charging
outlet. Yeah, DC charging outlet. Okay, because there's usually two. There's one for if you have an onboard battery. There's a rectifier for that, and then you have a rectifier for the. It's a very unique, not used often at all. You connect. It's a 10 amp charging port for a 12 volt battery. But
yeah,
let's see here. Yeah, so this just has the power regulator board and has the system control board.
Yep. And I forgot to take a picture of the control board. I was in there the other day. I was like, oh shoot.
No, it's okay. So, when you have a chance, just let me know what revision it is. It's
that's what I was aiming for, because you were talking about certain things on the videos, and I'm like,
there's
was that?
Couple diode changes that happen in resistor value changes, and and it was because of parts availability. I have revision P as in Paul, that's on my generator now, but the one that I had for James for his beacon generator was
an R.
Yeah, R as in Robert. And the last version is revision U as in universe, the last through hole mount component board before they switched over to the little tiny surface mount device where the smallest capacitor and resistor is 1 millimeter or half a millimeter big, and that's like itsy tiny. And
I know they're a grain of rice.
Grain of rice, grain of sand, yeah. And I have the tools to work on that, but I'm going to be charging a little bit more just because those tools my eyes are not what they used to be.
Well, that makes two of us technically, or most of us.
Yeah, but yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, if you have it, you know, I can certainly do it. Yeah. So getting back to what you were saying about not getting power. So did you disconnect this? I have it here. Did you disconnect this connector here, the 3-pin?
And no, at the time I did not.
Okay.
I was like, okay, I made a boo-boo.
Okay, so not a problem.
And don't mind me.
Oh, it's
Tigger had to come and say hello.
Tigger.
Right, Tigger? Hey, somebody's saying hi to you.
Ken, at one point I had 9 cats when I was a kid. And that's because one cat had 2 litters back to back. I will not have that many cats or any cats at all. I'm a dog person.
Well, we have a Chihuahua Dachshund mix.
Nice. Yeah.
It's a how can we say, it's a Dachshund family. Basically everybody in the house. So
that's awesome. Yeah, we're a German Shepherd family here. We got 3 of them. So maybe a 4th, who knows. No. So the reason why I asked about that 3-pin connector is if there's a problem on the system control board, but this board is okay, it could possibly be shorted to where it's shutting this board down. If you disconnect this 3-pin connector here, start up the generator, make sure your exciter windings connectors are connected properly here. Mm-hmm. Don't have anything plugged into the machine because it's going to have high voltage if this board is still good, or also your stator and rotor. But you know, start up the machine, see if you get high voltage. If you do, there's nothing wrong with this board. It's on the system control board.
Yeah, I did a test that I just recently found a few more videos. Mm-hmm. 9 months ago, it had to be, when you were working on yours, and you were giving a diagnosis of how to test them.
Yep. And
that's how I found out one thing I did a boo-boo on. But when you were doing the 3-pin test,
yep,
all of that, as far as the 3 pins go, everything tested just the way you said it.
Okay. Well,
so I'm guessing that must be working. I mean, it must be good. I mean, of course, again, like you were saying, I got to test it without the connector hooked up.
Yeah, and you know what?
In the generator.
How long has the generator been sitting? Because I know some of these generators, and James can back me up on this, some of these generators don't have permanent magnets in the rotor. So if it sits for any length of time, it'll lose them. They lose the residual magnetism, and you could bring it back to life with the battery and run it. But you know, if you let it sit for a few months, that's what's going to happen. There was a video that I did. I would even say before we even get that far down the rabbit hole, there's a video that I did. I'll put it in the chat here.
Hey, Garrett, based on what you just said, isn't that why you always shut off any load before you shut off a generator?
Exactly.
So it doesn't suck the residual out.
Right, because then as the magnetic field collapses, it takes off any residual magnetism, and then it's
like a capacitor, but in a magnetized way.
Well, yeah, and if it's a brushless type, you know, if you just have a capacitor and a rotating rectifier assembly, then yeah, you'll just lose it. But you could also do some serious damage if you have a regulator board like this, because what's going to happen is as the voltage starts to decay and go down, the amperage in this SCR starts to go up. It's inversely proportional, and that's when things burn up, because this thing is trying like hell to maintain 120, 125 volts. So you're putting a lot of stress on these components when you shut a generator off with a load on it. But there's the one that I wanted to get for you is actually I did it on the Megaforce Generac a few months back. I go into detail on how I test the winding, even though I do the resistance on it just to see if it would actually support a load.
Was that a 5 months ago one?
11 months ago.
Okay, no, I don't think I seen that one then.
Yes, I will get that over here to you. Yeah, that one. And I still have this generator. I just haven't been able to sell it, but it's in perfectly working order. Here is.
And I know I'm going to ask this because I already think I know the answer, but you actually have a business in this?
I do.
You, James, because you guys act like it's all easy, you know, you start working, it's like, where are you getting all these generators?
Yeah.
I can't have money like that to go buying a whole bunch from scrap yards.
No,
I'm like,
no, not at
hey.
all. I mean, it's,
Hey, Jim gets donations.
Yeah,
so.
Jim has got the biggest channel out of us all. We're like small nano size compared to what he has. So I do small engine repair as a side. It's our home business with my wife, Sue, and my day job. I'm actually a logistics analyst and supply chain person for the restaurant industry. So so that's my day job.
Hey, you don't know a guy named George Cother, do you?
Name doesn't ring a bell, no.
His company, his family invented the timer systems that they use in KFC and all those companies for the fryers.
Yeah,
they invented digital timing circuits, and they have a patent on them.
My company sells, and I don't want to reveal too much of my.
No, but I'm saying that his company, he left his company. He gave, he left and went to like China or somewhere to do it. But his Koether is the last name. They invented these electronic timer modules for McDonald's, KFC, and all those places. So he said that it's used in 90% of, especially, was it Yum Foods, Yum brand?
Yep, Yum Brands. Yep, they're actually a client of ours. And McDonald's is the biggest one. No, I mean, so my company, they make all the point of sale terminals. They make all the timers. Like they actually time, how long someone's in the drive-through. So drive-through is a huge. The technology around it, plus the timers and all the other equipment that you would normally find, behind the house in terms of, taking orders and everything. And the big thing that's being done in the restaurant industry now is the mobile app. They want to be able to manage your orders.
My kid, we were at one of those Chick-fil-A, and it's funny. It's like it's like a driveway in Norwalk, right? Because the closest one is Norwalk. So we go there, and it's like a 3-lane driveway. And the guy's coming up to you with the little thing. You give him your card, and it's all like on the phone and crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, so that's where a lot of the restaurant industry is kind of moving towards. So that's my day job is looking at the cost of shipping out these terminals, parcel or LTL and whatnot, and our system can handle a lot of that stuff, but it's all the details behind it. So I can usually find, or a lot of times the logistics industry, it's deregulated. So you can have a lot of middlemen, and they're there for the same reason the carriers are. They're like FedEx, UPS, and whatnot. There's a lot of middlemen that they wind up just stealing money off the top, and it's hard to find that activity from happening.
Hey, Wally, quick question. Where are you from?
I'm in Springfield.
Oh, okay. It's just up the road. Right.
Yeah. I was going to say off of Route 83, but I told Gary, I said, I was only like 35 minutes, not even. I'd say 25 minutes from actually Enfield, Connecticut borderline.
You're Massachusetts.
Yeah, up in Springfield.
Yep.
Springfield, East Long Meadow line.
Yeah, okay. It's a stone throw. I mean, I'm in the northwestern part of Connecticut. Kenny is a little bit further south, like 45 minutes south of us. And then 45 minutes west of us, at least for me anyway, is
about
James.
40 minutes is Jim.
Yeah. But
he's in Connecticut too?
No, he's in New York.
But it's a stone's throw either way.
Yeah, stone's throw either way. I mean,
New York.
What
is it with everybody? My daughter moved out there.
Well,
she's up by Buffalo, New York, where all the lovely snow is.
Oh, they got nominated for the Ice Bucket Challenge. There's ridiculous amounts of snow up there.
Crazy.
Oh man, but so the Wally, on the video that I just showed you on this one here, I would go ahead and do this test that I show in this video, because we want to make sure before we even take your boards to see if they need to be repaired or not. We got to make sure that the rotor and stator are actually in good shape. That we have to make sure that the exciter winding can handle a load. make sure it can light up the light bulb, and you can and taking the boards. Basically, what you do is you take all both the system control board and the power regulator board completely out of circuit, hook 12 volts up to the brushes, and then take the light bulb and connect it to the exciter winding, just like a 25 watt or a 40 watt bulb, an incandescent one, not an LED or compact fluorescent or anything like that. And we run 12 volts to the brushes, and then if the exciter winding is good and it can support a load, that light bulb should light up. And if that's the case, then there's a good chance then your stator and rotor are in good shape.
I think you did that, or James did that.
I did that.
Okay, I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
No, he did it. No, it was James. I think he did it on a generator. He on one of his videos, in one of his episodes, he did do that. He put a little light bulb on it, and that's how he knew that worked. And he also had a light plugged in, drop light.
Right. So that, and he did that in this last video. Now, a lot of time. So what happened was what you're doing, you're putting 12 volts to the brushes. You're exciting the rotor that's spinning. And what winds up happening is you should get voltage, about half the voltage on the main windings, like on your outlets, for example. That exciter winding is where that is a current source, not a voltage source. So the voltage is going to come off as fairly high, 140-ish volts AC. But when you rectify it down through the regulator board, it's going to be about 36 volts DC to the rotor, and it's only going to draw like maybe 2 or 3 amps at the most, probably a little bit less without a load on it. What you want to make sure is that winding can support a load, because the exciter winding will burn first, because the wire gauge itself is very thin, and it's actually on the inside of the stator, and then the big main windings are on top of it. That's how they're constructed. Now, in James' case, what wound up with this beacon generator is that you're only putting about half the voltage, 12 volts, onto the brushes. He had what's called a flying short, so vibration, or it's an intermittent connection to ground, and then when enough current starts to flow, then as the temperature increases on that hotspot, then the resistance goes down, so you start drawing a lot more current as it winds up burning up. So even though he was able to get both bulbs to light up, when you connect the board together, because the neutral of the main winding and the exciter winding, at least half of one side of the exciter winding is common to that neutral. You interconnect those windings, and if you have a hot spot or another short to ground somewhere on one of the main windings, for example, because neutral should be common to ground, that little section of winding that's going to get hot, that's shorting, it's going to burn it up. So that's why it's kind of a crapshoot. But I wouldn't imagine that your machine has been outside and as bad as James is the one that he found.
No, actually, this one's in better shape than his was, or is, I should say. They're I broke one of the bolts, or the bolt that's held the power head cover on. One of those broke.
Yep.
And that's it. I mean, yes, the picture I showed you with the 12 volt charging rectifier, that you could see from there it was corroded, and those connections, I don't know if I'll get them off there or not. All right, Ken, did you bring enough for the rest of us?
Sure, I'll send it right over.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at so for the pictures that everyone that's watching, that's what he has for his generator, and it's the same board. It's a slightly different part number here, and then OEM industrial, and I think this was the last one that you sent me, and then that was the model number and serial. Yeah, it's like I said, I would do that test that I did on the Megaforce generator to see if it can actually support the load. And then, we can go from there as far as repairing the boards, if it makes sense. But like I said, a lot of times you did the measurements on the power regulator board here. You measured the resistance, right?
The 3 pins.
Right. and you saw all the resistance there. So it should. You would actually see a dead short here if this silicon controlled rectifier was bad. So it leads me to think that you might have just lost your residual magnetism. But like I said, it's always possible. Things can test good on a meter, but they may not work in circuits. So that's
and
crapshoot.
And I've seen enough videos, including James and yours and a few others.
Yep.
That actually tested good and found that at the back end of it, where the fan was,
yep,
you didn't see that when the rotor had a nice little black spot and the wires were apart.
Yeah.
The windings.
Yep. And it's tough because a lot of things. A lot of factors go into it. I mean, and a 6,000 watt generator, $600 brand new, maybe $750 brand new. For the cost of fixing it, it's tough. The older generators, I think, were built better from like 15, 20 years ago because they actually would take the stator windings and they would bake them into an epoxy resin so that it would prevent vibration and better insulation so that if they wouldn't short to each other. Now you look at some of these cheap generators, they're not even doing that. They're just putting aluminum wire, or if you're lucky, copper wire, and it's not encased in varnish or anything like that. And generators just burn up. 25 hours.
I was going to say, don't sneeze when you go looking at those wires because they're that thin.
Yeah.
And I saw that episode too about what you were saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I play with electrical stuff all the time. Play with computers, anything I get my fingers on. Small engine repairs. It's just a hobby of mine. I've done it since I was 13. Here I am, 56, going on 57. I mean, I had fun with it. And I still do. But this one in particularly, I was going to try to. And if I just got this weird hunch that something is either, like you said, either the magnetism is out, which I'm going to have to check anyways. I got to go more detail as far as the windings go inside that and the main lines.
Yep.
It's just been on and off cold, and I have no garage or anything fancy. I got the thing covered with a big tarp and wrapped around like a burrito. I want to say it's so that the snow and stuff won't get to it.
Yep. No, I usually take for my small engine repair business. I'll do anywhere from 3, possibly even 4 machines a weekend. I'll bring in, and that's the most I can store, before it has to wind up sitting outside. And I don't want to be doing that to customers' machines. So if it's a riding mower, especially, I mean, you got to put a tarp on it if you can't fit it. If it's a 0 turn, oh man, that's
I can't get that in my yard.
Yeah, it's hard to do. It's a big machine. If it's generators and a lot of the small handheld stuff, I don't even bother. I don't need it's a lot of times people are not running them correctly anyway. Generators.
Well, it's either that or they're too cheap.
They're too cheap. Like I have
they're one use and throw away later is type thing. It's like those 900 watt ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are a joke.
No, they are.
But I mean, that's how I started learning on generators, though. I started working on those, and I started going a little bigger and bigger, and I was successful on a lot of them, but this one just kind of threw me for a loop.
Yeah, no, I get it. Kenny, I just a guy dropped off. He couldn't get his blades off his electric push mower, one of those Eco 56 volts, and it's got the double blade that looks like that. And I'm like, okay. And this thing.
Did you hear about the battery on that? Wayne Stephenson was saying in the chat yesterday that a lady brought him an Ego that was 5 years old.
Yeah.
And he said, have you ever had to replace the battery? And she had to replace it last year. $427.
That's what this senior citizen, really nice guy. He lives not right down the street from me. He's got a very small yard. And I said, well, can you bring the blades? Because I sharpen the blades. And I said,
my neighbor's got the Ego, everything, the trimmer, the mower.
The trimmer, he got the Ego, and he's like, for the amount of times that he, for as big of his lawn is, he said it works great. And like,
I told him the exhaust doesn't smell the same as the gas.
What is funny is, so he wanted me to sharpen, and the blades were actually not that bad at all. I'll give that to him either tomorrow or Tuesday. But I look at it and I'm just like, wow, I could lift it up with one hand. That's how light the thing is.
Yeah.
But I warned him. I says, you probably spent like $600-700 on this thing. Your battery is gonna last maybe 4 or 5 years, and then it's not gonna hold the charge anymore.
4 years, she said. Yeah, it was
4 years. Yeah,
and 60 volt or 48 volt, whatever it was.
As a lithium-ion battery ages, the chemicals, the cobalt inside you, the chemical reaction, you actually see the battery start to bulge a little bit.
Yeah.
And when that happens,
yeah, just like a capacitor, right? When a capacitor bulges.
Yep, exactly. You know, the substrate inside just it gets crystallized, and the crystal, it can't move the electrons basically, and that's what happens to a lead acid battery, your car battery. Eventually, if you drain it too low, past 50%, if it's not a marine battery, for example, the lead acid, the sulfuric acid inside turns into crystallizes, and then when it builds up on the plates, the acid can't move and can't move you lose the current. You may have the voltage, but it doesn't have the current to that's why your car starts cranking slower as it ages. So it's no different than lithium ion. Lithium ion just means that you have a lighter, smaller battery, but a higher capacity. It's to me, it's stupid. You're spending all that money. You may not, you're getting rid of the maintenance cost, of a gas engine. Sure. You're just going to wind up paying it all at once when you get that new battery.
Well, that's what Wayne said. Wayne said you could have come by for $50 a year for 4 years, $200 versus 427.
Yeah. To me, it makes no sense. I mean, I get it. If you have a small yard, then fine. But,
or storing it inside, that kind of. But then again, remember what I said about a year or so ago? I had a customer who had a Ryobi, whatever it was. Okay, burnt his house down.
Yeah, they're junk.
Battery exploded, burnt his house down.
Yeah. Crazy. I mean, I've worked on Ryobi generators. I've worked on some of their equipment, and you know what? I was fairly impressed with one of the Ryobi inverter generators. It was a 2300 watt, had a Bluetooth app, and you can connect to it. It tells you how much fuel is left and everything. But had the same engine as the Yamaha, the more $1,000 expensive one. But I mean, like you look at the inverter components, and I'm like, I don't know if it's going to last that long, or if it can be if it's built as stout. But
keep in mind on something, the more you add to those things, the more that goes wrong.
Well, that's right. I mean, because everything is controlled in that inverter unit. I've had a couple people, and so has James. He's been to try and rebuild these inverters, because normally what happens with these inverters on the inverter generators, it's got an alternator, just like on a regular generator. It's wired in as a 3-phase. So you have 3-phase AC, kind of like an alternator on your car. And the inverters are not boosting that voltage. Normally there's a boost stage. Have you ever had one? You have one of those power inverters that you plug into your car? You have goes 12 volts to 120. Well, those are probably under the most stress, because however much amperage you draw on the AC side, it's going to be 4 times as much on the 12 volt side, because it's got to come from somewhere. These inverter generators, there's components that get pretty warm, and it's usually the output transistors that fail. And if you're not careful trying to get that epoxy resin depotted, that is what winds up being the trick. If you don't know which one they are, and even just getting access to it, like James had one from Yamaha, and it's like a $1,400 inverter. I mean, that's expensive for just the inverter. And the rest of the machine was fine, but he wound up spending quite a bit of money on it. I mean, I don't know. They're great machines, especially if you really need nice, clean power. But the cost per watt is very expensive.
Yeah, and it's the matter of, is it really worth it at the end? And sometimes it's not.
No, not at all. I mean, there's a guy, he's got the big 15,000 watt, actually, from James. Thanks again. I know you're in the chat, but every time you feature me in a video, I get a lot of questions. Someone was asking me on he has a 15,000 watt ultra source. Now, I had the same machine a couple years back, big, massive 27 horsepower V twin, and he's running a welder on it, which, right tool for the job, sure, but these welders are getting even more sophisticated in their circuitry inside. The ultra source and the big generators like that have very dirty power, and he said that he wasn't able to even get the welder to turn on unless he had 7 amps or so of a load on the generator before he turned the welder on. Only then would his welder work. I'm like, he's like, why is that? He says, total harmonic distortion. the waveform's too jaggedy and it's the circuitry inside is not clean enough. It's just not able to power up. So, and when you usually add like a resistive load, like a heat or something like that, then the waveform will get cleaned up enough where it dampens those high frequencies that's causing that distortion out enough to where you can run something heavy or sophisticated like that. I would never recommend anyone trying to run their propane furnace or natural gas furnace on like a generator that has dirty power, because chances are it's going to ruin it.
And you're not giving me hope now. Wait a minute. I was going to run my my Harbor Freight welder on that generator once I got it working.
No, it's possible. I mean, it's the voltage spikes that usually come back in through the neutral line. That is it 240? Is it
yes.
240? Okay.
It's either or. I can run it on 120 or 240.
There's no filter for that, Gary?
No, total harmonic distortion comes down to how well the stator is wound, and also the voltage regulation circuit too. Where like this board, it's not the best board. It's you got a single large diode here that's doing half wave rectification into the rotor. So you're missing half of the other wave that would normally get rectified. So you're losing efficiency there. Then you have the windings that maybe are not exactly perpendicular or straight. In some of the more bigger generators, if you look, I mean, my fingers are probably not a good example of this, but normally you'd have like your stator laminations that look like this when you look down a stator. Well, if they're curved a little bit, it'll actually clean up the wave, the distortion of the wave a little bit, just because of the way the wave propagates when the rotor's spinning around. You see them in a lot of the diesel generators, the 4-poles, the one with the big brushless capacitor excited ones, and you have to run them at at least 50% low because of the diesel. But that waveform is usually very clean. But you have to have at that scale, it's pretty big.
Oh, Jim got a total harmonic distortion meter.
Did he get the one that I was that I told him about? Yeah, brusher. Ooh, 3,000 watt load. Yep, 13 to 19. And that's
what's the units on that, Gary? 13 to 19 what?
That's total harmonic distortion. So that is
what any units though on that?
What do you 13 to
19 what? Percent.
Right. Yeah. So the National Electric Code spec is up to 6% total harmonic distortion, no more. And you shouldn't see anything more on your utility power there. Anything beyond that, things start to it doesn't run very efficient. You have 60 hertz, right? Here in the United States, you have 50 hertz over in the UK and Europe. Total harmonic distortion refers to the harmonics. So 60 hertz is your fundamental, then you have 120, and then you have the next harmonic up, fourth harmonic up. You have energy.
What, is that the period though, Gary? Is it the period?
Nope. It's just you have multiple frequencies being mixed in together is basically what's happening. All the devices care about is that 60 hertz sine wave coming through. But if you have 120 hertz and then you have 240 hertz and then you have the next fourth harmonic up, it's wasted power. It's energy that the device can't use. And what winds up happening is that certain power supplies, they run hotter because that energy has to go somewhere. It's usually converted to heat. And heat is usually what winds up causing the devices to fail because that energy has to go somewhere. But yeah, that's really, in a nutshell, without getting more technical, that's the reason why high total harmonic distortion is not good for any devices. Some of the older devices, could probably handle that because they don't care what waveform is coming in. They're just going to rectify it to DC voltage anyway. But for things that do need AC and they have different circuitry, that's going to be a problem. Amp Pro. All right, I'll have to look that up, James. That's one of the things I'd like to have. But those total harmonic distortion, like dedicated meters, they're hundreds of dollars, not thousands. Very expensive equipment. You can get.
I wonder if that's the digital one that he had that I saw.
Possibly. He's got a little oscilloscope. And you can get an
Yeah.
oscilloscope that has what's called an FFT function. You see, 0
Hey,
hertz.
not a fast Fourier transform.
That's exactly what it is. It's got it's
Oh,
got that,
now you're bringing back all the nightmares of my advanced mathematics courses.
and with enough math, and math, I will say, is not my strong suit. I mean, give me enough time, I can figure it out. But yeah, with the FFT function, you can figure out, the first harmonic, second, third, fourth, and then with enough math, you can figure out, okay, you can approximate how much total harmonic distortion. So if he's got that unit, his viewership is going to spike even more, because a lot of people are curious about that one factor.
I took a vibration analysis course when I was doing my undergrad, and it was like, oh.
Interesting stuff, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we've been on for an hour. Well, I mean, I would say, just for your thing, I would say, do the test, get, dig more into it, shoot me an email, let me know what you think. And if it makes sense to rebuild the boards, once we've determined if the generator's in still a good of health. I try to keep the cost for rebuilding them at about half the cost new, but certainly doesn't make sense to spend that money if the generator is messed up.
Well, it runs like a dream, honestly. The thing fires up
Yep.
every pull, one pull.
Yep.
It's just I don't know. I mean, I've still got to do a lot more work looking into it. I just started this last week.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you had to wait. You couldn't give it to me while it was in the middle of summer. I would have been playing with it for that time.
Yeah.
But, and I was going to ask you, but I think I have already answered my own question on it. Did it matter as far as what the wattage was between yours, James, and mine are? Or is the process of testing this the same as any generator?
Process of testing is exactly the same. And according to, if you wanted to get this going again, say your stator is shot, they don't even have it available anymore. I'm looking at partstree.com now. So if
they have nothing.
Nothing. No. I'll just see if it's actually off. An off number. Partstree warehouse. It's a Briggs and Stratton. They use it on quite a few of the generators, so it's probably just a Briggs and Stratton Power Products, labeled as a Troy built.
Yeah, but that's the thing. The engine's not a Troy built. It doesn't say it. It's like the name brand is on it, but who made it?
Yeah, but Troy Built's owned by MTD now. So
MTD now, yep. Maybe it was
built
by
MTD. Don't have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That thing is done for as far as parts go, and that's a shame, because you know what? What I was told and what some of the videos I've seen, even, and I think I'm almost positive. I think you also said it, Gary, and again, James had strenuously said a few times that they're very good machines if they're kept up, and they'll last forever. Those particular ones, and generally.
Yep.
Just because it's a clone don't mean nothing. It's still the same parts.
They're using basically the same parts. Yeah, it's all marketing. Yeah, and the stator is no longer made, no longer available. So
unless you get lucky and find another one that somebody has had a blown motor in it, and then you might get lucky, but God only knows on that one.
Either that, or maybe James has he's gotten quite a bit of a junkyard of working.
I was gonna say, he's got a little inventory over there.
Yeah. Hey,
I noticed his walls have been getting pretty full.
Yeah. Well, he may have it. I'll throw the
hint, James. Hint.
James, I'll go and I'll send you the part number if it makes any sense at all. But I don't know. Even I like, there's a 10,000 EXL Generac. There's one up north of me. I'd say maybe about an hour away. He only wants $325, but apparently it doesn't go up to high idle. And I already know what the problem is. But I said to the guys, like, I'll give you $100 for it and I'll come and get it. But, just to have as a project. But the guy's like, holding his ground. He's like, yeah, no, I want 350. I just don't want it. 325, 350 is the lowest I'll go. And I said, okay, well, I know what's wrong with it, and I can tell you that it's going to cost way more than $300 to fix it if you were to go and send it down to a shop. So, and plus you cannot, that stator and rotor are no longer made either. So once it's gone, it's gone. I figured I had almost every single Generac EXL in my possession except for the 10,000, but I've rebuilt the boards. People don't seem to know what they have or what the market is doing. It's too bad. I'm probably a glutton for punishment too, like James. I like having a little side project to be able to tinker and whatnot, but it's getting cold, just like you said. I don't want to be working in the cold garage any longer than I have to, except on client machines where I'm making money.
Hey, Garrett,
yeah, well,
the week
ahead,
between
Ken.
Christmas and New Year, are you around or what?
Yeah, I'm around. I'm not. My last for my for the small engine business, December 10th is the last day that I'm taking any new machines in, and then we're done until the new year. I think the next appointment is January 14th.
Right. Yeah, because I have to work one day during that week, and
Nice.
Maybe I'll take a day, maybe grab breakfast or something. I'll bring up those modules, maybe you play with them or something.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Yeah.
Either way. All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Wally, it was good meeting you.
Nice meeting you too, Ken. Finally.
Yeah. No, and feel free. I mean, Ken, James, myself, we try to get like the round table of generator guys to try. We want to try to do it once a month, but it's this time of year. It's tough with the holidays and whatnot. Usually we try to have more of these question and answers. And this is always great to just be able to jump on, say hello, how's everyone doing kind of thing too. And James, yes, I do have a propane heater, and I just have to fill up the tank.
Yeah, and I just laughed at that idea because I'm like, I was just looking at one of those, and they wanted too much money for it. It's like, forget that. I've even like you guys were saying and stuff. You gotten some off of Facebook Marketplace, and people don't want to turn around and give you a break on them. I don't care. I mean, the thing looked like. Some of them I've seen, they look like they've been run over 100 times, and they still want $300, $400 for it.
Yeah,
it's like the thing don't work.
Yeah. Now you got to hit a deal just right, and I said, like I always say, right? Nothing closes a deal like dead presidents. Just bring it with you and throw it right to the guy.
When I get looking at my machine won't run.
Is that dog hair edition or what?
Looks more like sawdust to me, but
yeah.
I was just gonna say, looks like somebody's been doing carpentry work on top of it.
Yeah, that was on.
And by the way, you're a miracle worker, because I don't know how you managed to get that epoxy out. I've tried on other boards for computers.
If you have the right tools, look at some of the YouTube videos. If you have the heating station to get rid.
Yes,
there's some really cool tools out there.
I have. I'll
you
find
see that
picture. That'll be one of the last. Let's see here. That'll be one of the.
That's a WeWork station.
Epoxy too. Yeah.
Right, and
I work.
So you can't see it. So that's my.
I know what that is.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I got my desoldering gun, and that's great for through holes.
And your nice pencil point,
and I also have the
Hitachi,
hot tweezers,
or whatever that's. I forgot the name of it. It starts with an H.
Device. Yeah, I got the hot tweezers for the melt diodes and all the surface melt components. I have the. You can't really see it too well. Oh, there you go.
I know what you got. I see them.
Yep.
I got you on the computer too, so I have to look at the screen better.
Yeah. But so that's my complement of stuff, and that couple $100 a piece for each of those devices. But when I get down into the nitty gritty for these boards, and they're just great to have. You get to be dangerous when you have those boards and those tools to be able to rework them.
Yeah, well, like I said, you're a miracle worker, because I've tried on certain boards to pull the epoxy out. I wind up burning the board. I mean, I've tried, and I've tried not to burn anything. I'm very articulate when it comes to that stuff. Yeah. And nope, it just doesn't come off that easy.
No, and they're designed that way. Some of the more they formulate the epoxy just to be at the right temperature where the epoxy will come loose and it'll become molten and you can get it off, or soft and pliable, but it'll also be high enough temperature where the solder starts melting and you do damage to the board. They intentionally do that. Like on the Yamaha, that's why on the people that have asked me about the Yamaha inverters, it's near impossible to work on because the Japanese have been able to formulate that epoxy to the point where they don't want you going in there and figuring out. They will not give you any schematics. They will not give you anything to try and fix it. They would rather just sell you a brand new one. And that's why you see them cost over $1,400, $1,500 for some of their 3,000 watts and 5,000 watt inverter generators. They have us by the balls, man.
And that's a shame because, like I said, I mean, for somebody like myself, I'm not saying you guys, because you guys actually have a business.
Yep.
I don't have a business. This is what I do on the side as a hobby.
Wally, did you ever see what I really do for a living, though?
No.
I work for Lockheed Martin, Sikorsky Aircraft. I repair machines that make main and tail rotor blades for helicopters.
Yep. This is all of our part-time gigs.
I do that 40 to 60 hours a week, 7 days a week. I only do this stuff as a hobby.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I do it as a small side business with my wife, but I would never even contemplate doing this full time. It's just it's too difficult. I mean, if you're in an area where you don't have many of those shops, or like we just had a shop locally around me, we went from 15,000 square foot down to a 3 oversized bay garage because the commercial guys were giving them big balls over all the time because they wouldn't pick up their machines. So his capacity has greatly diminished. So all the smaller guys are getting more calls. But to make it a full-time thing, it's expensive to have all that overhead with a commercial location. Not a lot of people would want to take that chance.
And I don't take any commercial accounts. Forget that crap.
Me either. And this one that's coming in next week, I'm looking forward to it because the guy was really nice about it. And hey, it's his off season, so he's not going to be in a high demand because usually springtime you get those bounce houses and when the weather's nice. But it's interesting. The residential, the mom and pop places, the small people that are just trying to get their motors fixed. Hey, it's good to have that to keep our business going.
For me, Wally, it's coffee money. That's all it is.
There you go. Coffee has to be. Well, like the neighborhood here, it's like, right, guys, some of them are older people. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Very cool. No, I was going to say, no, my wife's going to probably start making, I wanted to keep it, didn't want to go too much beyond an hour here, but she's probably going to be starting up supper soon. But for sure, keep us posted. Let us know what you find. And everyone that's been watching and in the chat, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure. And thank you for supporting all of our channels, really. Getting more noticed with the help of James and Kenny and the rest of them. But, for sure, we'll have another live soon.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, guys.
Sounds great.
All right, guys. Be well.
All right. Nice meeting you all.
Yeah, you too, Wally. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.